You are getting ready to listen to the voice of Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, 2004 Olympian, four-time national judo champion, Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, author, speaker, and coach.
Hey, what's going on, man? This is Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Rhadi. And as I said before, I've been handling a lot of things concerning and about relationships because one of my clients, Jed, asked me to do so. So I tell you this because this is my preamble. Usually before I start, I give a preamble. I'm not a relationship um, expert. Um, I have my particular experiences in and through and of relationships. From my 47 years on the planet, I had a marriage that lasted 15 years and 9 months before the date of separation. I've also been through a divorce. I've also been out in this new dating space with the different, communication imperatives, which are very new in terms of, texting and Instagram and TikTok and I just say all those things before I start because I always say I don't have any solutions for you. In Coffee with Rhadi has been set up so that it's just like you and I are sharing a cup of coffee at a restaurant or at my house, but we're doing so virtually and we're just sitting down and talking. But the conversation is realistically unilateral, but virtually it's a dialogue because what I'm giving you, you're actually bouncing off of the current ideas that you have in your mind and in your particular headspace. So I want to say this. There's a thing that has been going on, and these two things are kind of coupled with each other. We have something called the cancel culture, where something happens that somebody doesn't like or a group of people don't like, and they just cancel those people. Cancel, done, shut off, out, lives, over. I mean, just canceled. All right. And then we have something that we call cutoff game. People say, my cutoff game is strong. And the cutoff game is once somebody does something that you don't like, that you don't appreciate, then you cut those people off. Now, let me say this. I have utilized the cancel culture thing, and I've utilized the cutoff game thing, and I've done both of them incorrectly, 100%. Now, I will say this: are there some people that no longer deserve space and place in your life? Of course. Um, One of my favorite authors, I believe is Tom Nichols, wrote a book called The Death of Expertise a few years ago, where people try to find a way to debunk experts or people's opinions by finding things on the internet or finding outlying situations to then debunk what people say. So I will say this, cutting people off is not a good thing. And people say, yeah, but what if somebody's abusing? Yeah, okay, we understand if you're being abused, beaten, we got all that stuff. Of course, you should. And there's people who have been cut off from society with good reason, people who have been incarcerated, etc. We're not talking about the outlying circumstances. We're talking about those circumstances which fit in which we call the general population. Um, there are times when we cancel people that don't need to be canceled, and when we cut off people that don't need to be cut off for the sole purpose that we can't forgive. Now, a great friend of mine, um, Azizi Coleman, had a quality conversation with me a few days ago when she said, and this is true also, she said, forgiveness does not mean access. So you can forgive somebody and still not give them access to you. Now, here's the thing. I do not believe in giving people access to you if those people that are accessing you are. I believe in people using people 100% because if you have no utility to somebody, then you are useless. So you should be useful so that people can use you. because you have used somebody else too who could not give anything to you. So let's remove this whole I'm not going to be used thing, because everybody uses somebody, and every relationship isn't 100% reciprocal, because it can't be, because everybody's not offering the same thing to everybody. So let's remove that from the plate. But I do want to say this: you do need to make yourself of service to people, and because you will need service from other individuals yourself. Every time that somebody has done something wrong to you doesn't give you the right to cut that person off, to block that person. And let me tell you something. I'm raising my hand. I've been there. I need space. I need my peace. Your peace does not come from the removal of the person. Your peace comes from your understanding of that which provides you peace. From a religious standpoint, for those people who are believers, it's Christ who provides you a peace. So diving more into the word and diving more into Christ is what's going to give you peace, and diving less into the person is going to create less turmoil for you. And sometimes we put more energies in the relationship with the person and we should be putting those energies in relationship with Christ. That's for the people who are on the Christian theoretical side of things. For those individuals who are on the spiritual side of things, you may have to focus a little bit on yourself, and a little bit on meditation, and a little bit on your spirituality, a little bit more on prayer, a little bit more on your health, a little bit more on your wellness. But that doesn't mean that you have to cut the person off just because you're shifting priorities. Now, let's say this. When you are the person who is trying to pursue somebody, and that other person is shifting their priorities on their home, their family, their business, their life, their children, it will seem to you that that person is putting you off or putting you down, especially if they don't provide you with any explanation. All right. And then the more that you try to pursue the person, the more they remove themselves, because they're focusing on what they need to focus on. And then what happens, you end up upsetting that person, and then you get cut off. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I don't want to get deep on the um, on the word side with the thing, but I do want to let's dip our toe in this contextually in this space, so that we can be on some even footing. So we have there's a verse of Colossians 3rd chapter 13 to the 15th verse, all right, which reads, "Put up with each other." Primarily, in the beginning it says, "Put up with each other, and forgive anyone who does you wrong, just as Christ has forgiven you." Love is more important. Jesus, love is more important than anything else. It is what ties everything completely together. Each one of you is part of the body of Christ, and you were chosen to live together in peace. So let the peace that comes from Christ control your thoughts, and be grateful. So here's the thing. We have this concept especially in the West, especially in the United States, where our concept of family and togetherness is very, very different than other countries and other communities. We have homes where everybody has their own separate room. Everybody spends more time apart individually than they do together. We have less and less time at the dinner table. We have less and less time where people are all together as a family unit. Everybody's kind of doing their thing, and then we kind of call that the family. And when everybody's doing their thing, that family unit even whittles down further, where man doesn't think they need woman, woman doesn't think they need man, kids don't really need anybody. They are on their own trying to build a level of independence, and then they leave the house. And then this creates situations where I don't need you, you don't need me, we move on. And then the family unit has whittled down from what it used to be, numbers of 5 and 6 down to 3 and 2, maximum 4. Like, why? Because of this first line where people don't know how to put up with each other. You gotta. I'm not putting up with that. I'm not sacrificing. I'm not doing. I'm not. Well, you gotta learn how to put up with each other. You have to, and then you have to learn how to forgive people and forgive them repeatedly because you've been forgiven repeatedly, and people are gonna do you wrong, man. And I'm not telling you to let people in your life who are abusive. That's a different conversation. We're not talking about abuse. People are going to make mistakes towards you. People are going to make they're going to make some errors. I have this discussion with people when it comes to R. Kelly. All right, R. Kelly is a musician who has been he's been in jail. He's been convicted for pedophilia, and people make this linking of if you listen to R. Kelly's song, then you are supporting pedophilia. To which I say, this is impossible to do such a thing. It's like saying if you read Shakespeare, then you are supporting homosexuality. And those two things, they're not the same. Um, it's like saying if you buy a product from me, then you support the way that I rear my children. If you don't agree with how I rear my children, that's not true. People get goods and services based upon their needs and what the good or the service provides for them and to them. And there's an argument in the artist space of can we separate the artist from the contribution? And of course you can, and you do when it suits you, and you don't when it doesn't. It's like being in a co-parenting space. Can you respect the co-parenting needs of the other parent when it in terms of influencing their children as they would like to, even if it's even in a positive way or in a way that you don't agree with, but that's the thing that they have for the kid to give the kid to pass down in terms of their legacy. Can you allow that and look past the things that happened that created the divorce in and of itself? And if you can't do that, then you're not able to move on, move forward, forgive, and see past some things. You can't see past certain. Yeah, you're gonna have to see past some certain things, and then you can make a decision. You can make a decision if I never want to read Shakespeare again, or if I never want to listen to any R. Kelly's music again, or if I never want to listen to any Michael Jackson again, or if I never want to watch the NFL again, if I you can make those decisions. You can, you most certainly can. But if you cut off everything and everybody, you get in the rhythm of cutting off things that displease you all the time or things that aren't good for you, sooner or later you're going to end up you're going to continue to isolate yourself, and you move towards the realm of being alone. The people say, well, I'm fine with being alone. You may be fine with being alone, and there are plenty of people who are fine with being alone. However, it's not good for people to be alone. There are things that happen to people mentally when they spend time alone. People need other people. They need physical touch. They need human touch. And you can't do that because you can't do that without being able to put up with another person because people aren't the same. So the question is, how do you exist in this particular space and time of life with all the existing relationships that you have around you, and do so by learning to put up with each other? Well, you do that by focusing on the things that make you individually, and I don't really like the word happy, okay? But you focus on the things that provide you with peace, because you can't go to another person looking for peace. That's first and foremost, they don't have that. They literally don't. They literally don't have that ability to provide you with peace. It's not possible. That, that level of peace surpasses a man's or woman's capability in terms of understanding. That that spiritual peace comes from a different place. If you have that particular peace, you're very, very slow to get angry with people. And then you're always looking to be able to reconcile with individuals. I can tell you right now that I have been struggling in this particular space. And I'm so glad that Jed asked me to deal with this relationship stuff because it's been allowing me to be really um, introspective and reflective on a lot of my personal, um, intimate, and when I mean intimate, I'm not always talking sexual, and sometimes I am, but when I mean intimate, I'm talking about the people who are in your circle, who you speak to, who you provide a level of reverence to the words that they say, like your intimate relationships, like your relationship with your children is an intimate relationship. Um, I've been really looking and analyzing these relationships and how I speak and what I say and what I mean and how I try to exert control. And is that level of control a level of control through my speech that I'm doing for me, or that I'm doing because I like to be able to take control over a situation or an environment? Are my words kind? Are they helpful? Are they beneficial? Um, Are they purposeful for the ultimate goal or objective? Because sometimes my words to my children aren't as kind as they need to be. But sometimes in the parenting space, once I've exhausted the please, 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 won't you do, won't you do, won't you do, and I'm asking you, then you get to the point of, if you don't get your ass over here, blah, 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 blah. And even though that approach isn't kind, it does meet the desired goal or objective of what I'm trying to get done in terms of my particular parenting style and what I would like to deliver to my kids. um, but I'm analyzing all of these particular relationships and all the way that I handle all these things, and also in the adult relationship space where we get to the point where somebody does something that we don't expect, somebody does something that we don't like, and the first thing that we are thinking about is, how do I distance myself? How do I cut myself off? How do I cut these people off? And I am 100% guilty of this. And if you have that type of thinking, then sometimes that type of thinking needs to change. Because when you get to the end of the scripture that I gave you in Colossians, third chapter, 13 to 15 verse, it says, "So let the peace that comes from Christ control your thoughts, and be grateful." And that's something I've been really trying to work on in the morning when I get up to work out, to really have an attitude and a mindset of being grateful and just gratitude and being thankful, and put myself in that particular space so that my thoughts are a little better controlled during the day. Um, I think that we need to think differently about our relationships. I'm really, really watching people, watching things and what people say, and people are really, I'm not going to say people are selfish. I'm going to say they're really, really self-absorbed about their particular thing. And let me say, and I am talking about me too. I'm not excluding myself from the discussion. I am not exempt from um the hand slapping here that I'm putting out. Um, I am 100% guilty of these particular things too. That's why I have to go back and analyze my behavior. We got to be metacognitive about our behaviors. We need to think about the things that we think about. And the one thing that I really enjoyed about this particular verse towards the end is it talks about getting control of your thoughts, because your thoughts then control your actions and your behaviors. And how you behave comes out of the framework of how you think. And we have to think differently and put ourselves in the mindset of, instead of saying, I'm not putting up with that, to say, hey, I forgive you, and I'm going to learn how to put up with your stuff, because your stuff or your SHIT may actually be fertilizer for my personal growth. But I'm not saying that people are going to hurt you. I'm not saying that. They will, 100%. I'm not saying that trauma won't happen in your life. It will, 100%. What I'm saying is that those things have been introduced or in your life to act as fertilizer, that they're there to act as things that will help make you strong without the tearing, without the renting of muscular tissue. You can't get strong. Without the tearing and renting of emotional tissue, you can't get strong. And if you remove the weight off the bar every time the weight gets off the bar because you don't want to deal with the weight, then how do you work on the emotional um, and character weightlifting that needs to be done for the improvement of your person? These are the things that I would like you to kind of walk around and deal with as you sip on some of your coffee this morning, or if you're a tea person, as you're drinking tea. Every time somebody upsets you, you don't have to cut the person off. You should sit down and think about where that person is coming from, even if you don't agree with it. But I got an epiphany last night about um, one of my friends, but I just thought she was being 100% unreasonable about something. But then I got into I got an understanding of where she was or where she is post divorce, in terms of where she is in terms of her kids and her new career, and wanting to have control of her life and control of her schedule, and any access of that she would provide to anybody else to sit down and have a cup of coffee or anything will is perceived as you're trying to take away my time from the things that I need to do. And this time that I have right now is focused on these things, and I don't have time for that. But it gets read to people as I don't have time for you. And everybody has felt this push or this crunch before. And when these people are in that season of life, the key is, how can I put up with this? How can I be more understanding? How can I dive a little bit more into my life, into Christ, into the Word? How can I be more understanding? How can I control my thoughts as it pertains to thinking about this person? Because when you really look at stuff, what really causes us to go out of control is what we call in the psychological space automatic thinking. For an example, you text somebody, they read your text, and then you're like, hey, they didn't text me back. And then they take 3-4 hours. You're like, I don't put up with this. You see my text, you don't text me back about. You don't know what happened with those people. You don't know if they're going through something. You don't know if their phone is set down and open and it shows that it was read and they never saw it. You don't know anything. You have no clue. But when you go through, hey, I expected you to say this, or I expected you to do this, or I expected you to do, then you're not in control of your thoughts. You start making yourself angry about things that never happened, or a thought process that the person doesn't even have. And then now you're thinking about how you can exit out of the relationship or the friendship or the whatever type of relationship dealing that you have, because in your mind you're just thinking, I'm not putting up with this, instead of thinking, how can I put up with this? It is totally and completely up to you. As I close, it is totally and completely up to you what you put up with and what you don't put up with. But if you don't control the way that you think about things and other people, and try to learn to see some things differently, which I am, man, I'm still working on 100%, 100%. And I am in the space and place where I have called some people recently and have offered apologies. And I have some more to do, and I'm going to do it. Um, but if you're not in that space and place where you're thinking about how can things be reconciled, instead of thinking about what I'm not going to put up with, you're going to make your life harder than it needs to be, which is also your choice. 100%. 100%. And let me say this. This is my piece of advice, and I'm going to go. I had to apologize to somebody. Well, I had to forgive somebody recently. But instead of saying, hey, I forgive you, which can come off as being super, super arrogant and down-putting and have a little a backhanded slap to it, what you say is, instead of saying to somebody, I forgive you, all right? This is what I had to do. I had to say, hey man, I owe you an apology. And I want to apologize to you because I was thinking about you negatively about X, Y, and Z, what occurred in between us. And I shouldn't be thinking about you like that because that's ungodly type of thinking and it's not Christ-like. And I want to apologize about thinking about you like that. And that's now how I provide forgiveness. Instead of telling somebody, hey man, I forgive you for how you pissed me off when you stepped on my toe. What I say is, hey man, I want to apologize to you. I was very angry with you and about something that happened between the two of us when you made a mistake and stepped on my toe. Um, Even if the person did it maliciously, you say, because it's still a mistake in your mind, it's a mistake. Okay, when you made a mistake and you stepped on my toe, I was thinking about, you know, getting back at you or doing things to you or hoping that you would trip and fall, and that's not the way that I should be thinking about anybody, whether I like the person or not, man. And I owe you an apology for thinking about you like that. And I just want to let you know that in the grand scheme of things, I will be always extending the right hand of fellowship to you, whether you accept it or not. And I want to apologize and I want to tell you that I love you, I respect you and I appreciate you. Boom, and leave it like that. Instead of trying to come tell people, hey, I forgive you for what you did to me. Comes off a little bit arrogant, doesn't doesn't sound good, and it's not kind. So that's all I have for you. If you got any nuggets there, fine. If you got some things that you don't agree with me on, that's cool too. It's good to have arguments in the true sense of the word arguments, where somebody comes with a thesis, somebody comes with an antithesis, and then you reach synthesis during the day through your thought processes. This is Dr. Ferguson, man. I love you. I love you. I love you. But God loves you best. I would also love if you went to www.judoislife.net and picked up my book, Judo is Life Today. And if you need anything from me, I have plenty of outlets on the internet that you can follow me on, and you can DM me on Twitter at twitter.com/RHADI, or you can hit me on Instagram, Rhadi Ferguson, RHADIFERGUSON. And Rhadi Ferguson 2 is my daughter. Rhadi Ferguson is me. I've had people DM my daughter several times, and that's that's me. That's her. My daughter and I have the same name. Praise the Lord. All right, man. You guys have a great day. Have a great week, and until next time, be your best.
You are getting ready to listen to the voice of Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, 2004 Olympian, 4-time national judo champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, author, speaker, and coach.